Hey YouTube, this is James at Wyvern Watch here once again with another deck profile. This time it's one of my before and after series. So I've currently got one running with Ritual Beasts. So we did a before profile not too long back on that. And this time, because the new support is coming very shortly in Phantom Nightmare, I thought I'd put my aromage deck or my Aroma deck, depending on which way you look at it, profile out there for the first time actually on this channel, and show you what I've got currently, and then I fully intend to get a couple of boxes of Phantom Nightmare to pick up the new stuff for aromage, and then of course we'll see what the new build looks like after that. So this deck I first picked up because I pulled a couple of these from Clash of Rebellion, looking for, was it Ghost Ogres in Clash of Rebellion, something like that, and absolutely fell in love with the with the artwork, of course. Absolutely beautiful looking cards. So I've had these for a long time, and slowly it's come out. So this one came out in dual power. I don't think it's had a reprint since. I can't remember now, to be honest. So gradually it's had a little bit of support, but apparently this new support that's coming is going to make it quite good. Now there's plenty of scope in this deck to sort of take old cards out, put new cards in. So I'm really happy to see a little bit of more support for aromage. It's one of my favourites. So without further ado, as they all seem to say, let's get down to it. So we start with the lady herself, Aromage Jasmine. I'll run through just basically what the aromage stuff does. Again, it's a bit of a core build. It's a bit of a I only like to run aromage stuff in it really. However, there are one or two other bits and pieces in there as well. It is a plant deck at the end of the day, so you can there's loads of plant support, so you can go change as much or as little as you want to. But the basis of aromage stuff, of course, is all life point driven. And during your main phase, while your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can normal summon one plant type monster in addition to your normal summoner set. Really good effect anyway. And then once per turn, if you gain life points, which they all have this effect where if you gain life points, draw one card. They're all once per turn effects, of course, so they can't be too abused. But you really need to keep your eye on your life points status on with this deck, because if your life points aren't as high as your higher than your opponent's, you might start to struggle pretty damn quickly. So that's the point of the deck. The next one, of course, is Aromage Rosemary, which I believe is the one getting the link support. So I think it's Aroma Rosemary, I think is what's coming. I've not actually seen the effects or anything yet. But while your life points are higher than your opponent's, if a plant type monster you control attacks, your opponent cannot activate monster effects until the end of the damage step. And once per turn, if you gain life points, you target one face-up monster on the field, change its battle position. That is that is an effect that has to occur, so you have to resolve that effect. It's not if you can. It's not a you can effect. You have to do it, compulsory. But again, really pretty card there, Rosemary. A bit of a waifu deck, I suppose, isn't it? I've also got two Aroma Angelica, which is during your either player's turn, you can discard this card, then target one Aroma monster in your graveyard, gain life points equal to that target's attack. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, and you control an Aroma monster and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Excuse me. Again, once per turn effect. Nice little trick, that one. That one, Invasion of... Inov, I can't remember what Inov is, but that's when that one came out. Well, like I say, there's loads of different levels of support here. This is another one. So this is Aromage Laurel. If your life points are higher than your opponent's life points, you can special summon this card from your hand. Immediately great. If you gain life points, target one non-tuner plant monster on the field. It is treated as a tuner for the rest of the turn. Always good. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can gain 500 life points. Brilliant. And again, you can only use the effects once per turn. The next three are all one-offs, in my opinion at least anyway. So there's one bergamot, one kananga and one marjoram even. Marjoram being the later one and the other first two being the Clash of Rebellion's original support. So bergamot is while your life points are higher than your opponent's, if a plant type monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. Really it's just having one aromage of its name, you know, with a higher level attack, so you can sort of take advantage of it because you'll special summon it off with other effects anyway. You don't really want to draw it. Kananga is while your life points are higher than your opponent's, face-up monsters on your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense. And once per turn, if you gain life points, target one spell trap card on your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Marjoram being the newer one, of course. Level 5, a little bit more awkward. Excuse me. But while your life points are higher than your opponent's, you take no battle damage from attacks involving your plant monsters, full stop. You can only use each effect to the following effects of Marjoram once per turn. When a plant monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card from your hand, then gain 500 life points. And if you gain life points, target cards in your opponent's graveyard or to the number of aroma monsters you control and banish them. So nice little effects there. Like I say, nothing ground shaking. It's not going to affect the meta, I wouldn't have thought too much, but great fun to play with, it really is. Couple of sort of plant support. I've got one Spore and also one Mardell Generator Boss of Light. Excuse me. Mardell obviously run in my generator deck as well, but it's just great plant support and can be special summoned off the effects of Lone Fire. So I control one Mardell Generator Boss of Light. If this card is normal or special summoned, I can add one generator card. Obviously we're not using it for that. Or one plant monster from your deck to hand. Except obviously Mardell, but that's not a problem because we're only running one. Spore is just a nice little level 1 plant tuner, of course. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other plant type monster from your graveyard and special summon this card from your graveyard and increase its level by the level of the banished monster. And we can only use the effect once per duel. Sorry, should have brought a water with me, shouldn't I? Another addition that I've added is Fairy Ant the Circular Sorcerer. Now, this is mainly because I just really like the idea of it. I thought it fits in quite nicely, but can be easily removed, obviously, if the new support dictates that it needs to, in terms of space. Obviously, it's a level 3 tuner. If an effect or plant monster in either player's graveyard, if an effect or plant is in either player graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Well, this deck is, you know, it's a free special summon really. You can only special summon Fairy and the Circular Sorcerer once per turn this way. If this card you control would be used as a synchro material for an insect or plant monster, you can treat it as a non-tuner. So I just thought a great little addition, a little extender at least, and that is Rufus the dog barking about something. Next up, because we are a life point based deck, I thought this prudent really. So Ghost Sisters and Spooky Dogwood. Let me just calm him down, won't be a sec. Yeah, sorry about that, but yeah, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, like I say, very appropriate in this deck, I would say. The next one, of course, I've already mentioned it, but Lone Fire Blossom, last of the monsters. Everyone knows what Lone Fire Blossom does, but in any plant deck, I think this is a bit of a must really. But obviously, as you can see, I've just picked up in the new Platinum Secret Rare, which I really like actually. I think the new Platinum Secret Rare is quite classy, not too in your face. Not sure I like the other Collector's Rare ones, but the Platinum Secret Rare is quite nice. Okay, on to spells. So this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. So Aroma Garden, you'd expect there to be a garden with a deck called Aroma, wouldn't you? So once per turn, if you control an Aroma monster, you can gain 500 life points, full stop. Dead easy. Also, all monsters on the field, monsters you control gain a 500 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn. even if this card leaves the field, and if a face-up Aroma monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effects and sent to the graveyard, you gain 1,000 life points. Very appropriate, and if you get that on board quite earlier on, it's a good place to start. And also slightly later support, this was out of Chaos Impact, I believe, Aroma Gardening. So if you normal or special summon an Aroma monster except during the damage step, you can gain 1,000 life points. When an opponent's monster declares an attack while your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon one Aroma monster from your deck. That's when the likes of Bergamot might come into hand and the usual sort of thing, but that's a continuous spell. And then I couldn't resist this card. I've always wanted to play, but never really had a chance to. But Cauldron of the Old Man, and again, people might have just let this sit on the field and ignore it, but it can be quite potent. So when this card is activated, place one counter on it, and once per turn, during your standby phase, place one counter on the card. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. Gain 500 life points for each counter on this card. Inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each counter on this card. So that's not losing the counters. That's just every standby phase you're going to get another counter, and then you can activate either the gain life points or opt for your opponent to take some damage. Cauldron of the Old Man, always wanted to play that. Just 4 one-offs, so I've got 1 Magic Planter, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Terraforming, and 1 1-for-1. Most of which don't need any discussion, but Magic Planter, send 1 face-up continuous trap card you control to the graveyard and draw 2 cards. We've got a couple of face-up continuous spell trap cards, just trap cards. So I'm easily done there. Now let's go for the wins. So we've got 2 of the newer Blessed Winds, which of course is Chaos Impact. I've got 1 Dried Winds and 1 Humid Winds. Now I've got 3 of each of these, and I can't decide which ratio to play with at the moment. But Blessed Wings is the newer one, so you can activate one of these effects. Send 1 plant monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard and gain 500 life points. Or you can target 1 monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into deck, and then gain 500 life points. Or you can pay 1,000 life points, special summon 1 Aroma monster in your graveyard. You can only use the effects of Blessed Winds once per turn. Dried Winds is if you gain life points, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And if you control an Aroma monster and your life points is at least 3,000 higher than your opponent's, you can gain life points equal to the difference between... if you control an Aroma monster and your life point is at least 3,000 higher than your opponent's, you can pay life points equal to the difference, destroy face-up monsters your opponent controls whose combined attack is less than or equal to the life points you paid to activate this effect. You can only use each effect of the Dried Winds once per turn. And then Humid Winds is pay 1,000, add 1 Aroma monster from your deck to your hand, and if your opponent's life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain life points, 500 life points. So there's a way to get these life points back on side, but I'm thinking though that's the right ratio at this point in time. The last card in the main deck is Fiendish Chain, which of course can be switched out for imperms or whatever you want to do. I've got 45 decks, and believe it or not, I don't have 45 play sets of infinite impermanence. So I sort of use with the sort of more basic decks like this one, I use a sort of more simple trap cards. And again, that's Rufus in the background, sorry about that. Activate this, you know what Fiendish changes, I'm not going to read that out, that's just a bit of a waste of time. Now, extra deck, obviously it's basically just plant-based, other than there's a couple of archetype-specific cards in here, but it's really whatever you want to play plant-wise. So I've gone for a Ruddy Rose Dragon, mainly because it's the first print of that one and really, really pretty. I've got an original Black Rose Dragon, of course, which this one is actually an Ultimate Rare, which is really nice. Not first edition, sadly, but Black Rose Dragon nonetheless. I've got Pyralis, Empress of Blossoms, the classic Synchro Plant Monster. Circle of the Fairies, which goes with, of course, the Sorcerer. Splendid Rose, again in Ultimate Rare. Too pretty not to take out. Really nice card. Aromatherapy Sweet Marjoram, so that's the synchro version of marjoram, and then Garden Rose Flora, and one more, which of course is Aromatherapy Rosemary. So the link monster can't be called Aromatherapy Rosemary. That's interesting. I can't remember what that was. I can't think what the link monster is going to be called then. So those are the synchros. Move those over here a little bit so you can see those. And then we've got a couple of links and a couple of XCs as well. So we've got Nightmare Phoenix, of course, always a classic or a basic one in my deck. Aromatherapy Jasmine, we'll have seen that in a number of different decks. I've got 2 of those now, and 1 Link Karibo. And last but not least is 3. So we've got Bahamut Shark, of course, and you know what's coming after that. Totally awesome. And 1 more, which is Melee of the Trees, which I really like because it's a plant monster. Again, really, really pretty card. So that's my Aromatherapy deck, or aromage deck, whichever way you'd like to think of it. Now, like I said before, this is the start of a 10 sort of thing. So in terms of what's staying, what's going, there is no decision been made yet. I can see the circle stuff probably disappearing, just to make room for newer support. The extra deck's pretty open anyway, but majority of the aromage stuff I will probably think is staying. I don't think it'll be superseded, but for now, this was the before. Fingers crossed for the after, not too dim a distant future. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time for the next profile. Bye bye then.